Hello and welcome to this
reeking,
streaking, shitty introduction. Hello and welcome to this week's Ranking Attack podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Shane.
So we're into week 10, it's into double figures.
Huge.
It's massive. It's a public holiday here in Poland, so for once we're not rushing and trying to cram this one in between other duties. And we got another podcast rammed for you guys with fantasy football advice.
Independence Day version, I guess.
Independence Day version. So stand up, bless the flag, and sit back down again.
Veterans Day for some of you people.
Oh,
Remembrance
Day.
Yeah, there's flags flying everywhere, basically.
Anyway, before we get going, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. So up until now, you've been this is the first time we've done this podcast. The first season. Mm-hmm. So up until now, you've been a consumer of fantasy advice, I guess. And this season, you're a producer of it now, and people are listening to us and writing in and stuff like that, and it's great.
At least 20.
At least 20. Has it changed the way you've approached your own teams? Do you feel as though you're getting a better hang of it or not?
To tell the truth, I'm going to say no. I like producing the content. I actually spend a lot of time doing it, so I do think I understand what's going on in fantasy football more, but I think regarding my own team, I'm actually putting less time into my team.
Okay.
It has a lot to do with, like you were just mentioning before, rushing around, getting your stuff done. And so your late Tuesday night, I generally find myself writing until 2 o'clock in the morning, right?
Sure.
To get the blog post up before the waiver wires go through. And then I think, oh my God, I haven't done my own. Which basically leaves me with 15 minutes before I pass out to do my changes. And yeah, I mean, last week, for example, I spent some time and I picked up Langford and the likes.
Sure.
It was an important week. This week, I kind of forgot. At the last moment, I'm like, hey, I should do something with my own team.
There wasn't much to pick up this week, though, I guess, on where.
True story.
Couple, but.
Yeah, you throw it in the other. How about you?
I don't know. I mean, I think that what I found is that because we do so much prep and research for the posts and for the podcast, I feel as though I no longer have to rely on other people's advice.
Okay.
So I feel more confident in my picks in terms of who I'm starting and sitting. I feel as though now, rather than going necessarily on people's rankings per se, I can say, right, I know they're playing this team, they're bad against the run, they're good against the run, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So in that respect, I feel as though I'm more confident about what I'm picking and I don't have to rely on other people's ideas.
Do you think you've played a better fantasy football this year? Do you think your teams have improved as a result?
I don't know. I don't think there's necessarily a correlation between the fact that I've got 3 winning teams and the fact that we're doing this podcast necessarily.
Because you've always got winning teams.
Unfortunately not. No, I think with some of the pickups, maybe I think so.
Okay.
And especially with, for example, those flexes, I think.
Yeah, the deeper dives, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Your Dontrell Edmonds of the world.
Stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, and these people wouldn't necessarily be on my radar were it not for having to do the writing. So I think when it comes to that, then maybe.
But how did you do this week?
How did I do this week?
I'm peeking over your shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How did I do this week? I went 0-3. So can we not fucking talk about it?
Skip it.
Skip it. No, I had 3 blowouts. I guess I was killed by some underperformances and some bye weeks. In our flea flicker, I mean, I scored 140 points and still lost.
Yeah, which you would generally think is a winning week, right?
You'd think so.
But if I remember, you had a certain quarterback for the Redskins going.
I had to go with Kirk Cousins, which is, when you're starting Kirk Cousins, it's never a good sign.
Yeah, we were watching, I can't remember which game we were watching, the Carolina game, and they kept flashing the Redskins game from the Patriots. And I think their first yard was
somewhere in late second quarter. Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't good. I think he got me about 12 points.
Yeah,
overall.
which he wound up being okay because he had to keep throwing.
But it was painful. Stafford was on a bye, and I could have started Josh McCown, but he was injured, and so Manziel went in. Yeah. So it just wasn't good for me. But I had Kelsey on the bench. Because it was a bye. Calvin Johnson was a bye, and I left Sammy Watkins on the bench.
I remember you doing a lot of swearing with Sammy. Every time they went to the Bills game, there was Sammy.
And how did you do?
2-1, 2-1, 2-1. So it's 2-1 weeks in a row. And both weeks I've lost in my Yahoo 20 team league. The team which I think is maybe the best team I've ever had. We were talking a bit about my receiving core. Like,
and you ended up with a pile of points.
Yeah, I scored 133 and still lost in a 20-team league.
That's a killer.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, I mentioned that I kind of was in a hole from Thursday night on, right?
Yeah.
I was playing against Tyler Eifert. A few touchdowns.
It's always going to kill you.
Yeah, so I was crawling out of a hole. Didn't quite get there. Langford would have got me like one more 2-point conversion on Monday night.
The bastard,
He almost
Jeremy.
saved the day, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he looked great. It was a breakout performance from him generally, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I'm happy having a 2-in-1 week. I've got 3 over 500 teams. But nobody's like pulling away, you know, like they're all first, second, and all.
Yeah,
for example, our flea flicker. Yeah, I believe we're tied for first in our division.
I think we are. We're both 6 and 3, aren't we?
Exactly.
We'll have to see where that takes us. Okay, and now it's time to look at underrated and overrated, and we'll look back on week 9 to start with. Last week we were looking at Dave Richard over on
CBS.
On CBS, yeah. So underrated, I went Willie Snead. He was ranked 25th, and he actually finished 28th. So in the end, he was about a little bit overrated, but it's basically a push on that one. He went for 95 yards, which is pretty good, and.
He just didn't get that TD.
He didn't get the TD. He didn't get touchdown. 9 points in standard. I think last week was also. It was a really big fantasy week. I mean, generally speaking, I mean, it was high scoring on a lot. I think there was exactly loads of points on the board in terms of real NFL games and fantasy that projected into fantasy as well. So 95 yards would normally, you'd think, get you higher than 25th.
Yeah, a normal week, I think you're right.
But anyway, so didn't do them. Who did you choose?
Heath Miller.
Heath Miller.
Who I believe was a miss as well last week.
Yeah, a little bit.
He was ranked 12th. What, he came in 23rd?
He came in 23rd.
Yeah, only got a few points, 32 yards. I mean, Ben went out of the game, a little banged up.
Yeah.
I missed on that one. Yeah. What are you going to do, right?
What are you going to do?
What did we have for overrated last week?
Overrated. This was me trying to be too clever, which happens far too often. Overthinking it, going bold, and ending up with a lot of egg and shit on my face. I went with Aaron Rodgers against the Panthers, and I thought, there's no way. He's had one bad game. They're not looking so good. He was ranked 6th, and I thought that was overrated. He ended up with the first rank.
Yeah, well, they went kind of nuts there at the end of the game.
They did.
Relax and all that kind of stuff again, right? Relax too, I suppose, right?
Yeah, it was. It didn't look good for me. What can you do?
Yeah, he scored points. They lost the game.
Scored points, and this is the next time I'm going to get. This is the last time I'm going to get burnt by Aaron.
Yeah,
Rodgers.
Picking Aaron Rodgers for your overrated is never a good choice.
I don't think so.
That's what we've learned. Yeah. Who did I go with?
You went with Decker.
Oh my goodness. Ranked 12th, ended up 12th.
There you go.
I think we'll call that a push.
That was definitely a push. Yeah, I mean, he's doing really well against.
He's steady. He's Eric Decker.
He's steady. He's Eric. I mean, if you get with the Jets, you've got 2 top 20 wide receivers every week with Marshall and Decker. And he's great in that second position.
I remember last week being a little worried that he was a bit banged up going into the game. We didn't even know who the quarterback was going to be.
Exactly, and it ended up being Fitzy, and he didn't do too badly.
Yeah, I still say it was a good idea to stay away from him, but he did all right. So, I don't regret my pick. It just didn't pan out.
Exactly. I think that's fair enough.
So looking forward to our underrateds for Week 10.
Our underrated Week 10, we're looking at Brandon Funston over on Yahoo this week to give us a change of scenery from CBS. So, underrated. You went with Chris Givens.
Yeah.
Ravens.
I have no idea why I've got a feeling about Mr. Givens. But after coming over from the Rams a few weeks back, he's kind of been working into the lineup more and more. He's ranked 60th. I mean, to argue that he's startable in a standard league is a bit of a stretch.
Bit high.
Yeah, but I mean, he's definitely a top 50 wide receiver. I mean, I would even say like a top 40, perhaps.
Yeah, you
30.
could be.
I mean,
you could see him as a flex in deeper leagues.
Exactly. I mean, definitely in, let's say, 16 plus leagues, I'd have him starting.
Because I mean, Kamar Aiken's not done much.
No, exactly. Kamar Aiken's an average 6-catch, 60-yard guy, right?
Right. So there is someone there that needs to be receiving for Baltimore.
Exactly. Givens can stretch the field. They got Jacksonville this week. I think it's going to be a little bit of
a shootout.
Yeah, there's going to be points scored on the board.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm not going to suggest starting Givens in a 10-team standard. But if you're in 12 teams or bigger, I would think about a flex. I mean, especially if you're hurting with a bye week replacement.
Yeah.
and you're needing a player, you need somebody, and Chris Gibbons is on your wire, I'd pick him up.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think he's going to be on most people's. He's going to be able to pick up in most leagues.
I mean,
probably
Chris
40-50% owned.
Oh, I would even say less, like 20%.
Possibly. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd go out and grab him if you got room. Pick him up because he's going to have a good week one of these weeks.
Yeah, no, I think so.
And I think this could be the one. Who do you got?
I went with Sammy Watkins. Once bitten, twice shy, baby.
Yeah, I guess this has a lot to do with last week sitting on your bench.
Yeah, this is me. I'm going to go by. I like Sammy, and I didn't trust him last week. He's Brandon Funston has got him ranked 36th wide receivers, which I think is way too low. Mm-hmm. So last week he got 170 yards, a touchdown, and 8 receptions.
Yeah, he had a big week.
So we can see what he can do against. Well, we can see what he can do when he's healthy.
This is exactly.
I think, and you got Tyrod Taylor there throwing to him,
looking good.
I like it. I think he could be easily a top
30 for sure.
Top 30, I'd say top 20 this week.
You can throw him in the top 20. All right. So he's startable in all leagues.
I would say so this week. Yeah, I'd go with it.
Sounds good, my friends. So we're overrated.
Yeah.
I went with Martellus Bennett, tight end Bears, in case you've missed it. So he's ranked 8th by Mr. Funston, right? That's what we're looking at here.
So you think a bit overrated?
Yeah, I don't think he's a tight end 1 this week for a few reasons. I mean, they're playing the Rams. Rams defense is the Rams defense, right?
Sure.
I mean, they're not great against tight ends, but they're top 10.
Still, I mean, they're only giving up 5.4 per game, so that's really pretty low.
Exactly. When you get down to the lower half of teams against tight ends, it drops off significantly. Mm-hmm. I mean, you get the Raiders at the top giving up the lot, like 15
points or something.
And then as you get towards the midpoint, it drops really low.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I would definitely think about replacing Martellus this week. If you have somebody like, I don't even know, Crockett Gilmore.
Sure.
If he's available, I would grab him and start him over a guy like Bennett this week. I mean, Bennett, to me, he's notorious for starting a season strong and then kind of ending weak.
Yeah.
And as we enter week 10, I think we're now into the second half solidly, yeah. I'd think about benching him, man.
What do you think about, because we saw Zach Miller score a touchdown for the Bears this year, they're in week 9 as well.
Yeah, like poaching
something from him as well.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't trust, I mean, we're going to talk about Cutler later as well. I don't trust the Bears, period.
No, not this week, I don't think.
Yeah, I think Bennett drops out of the top 10. He's a tight end 2.
All right, this week, fine.
Who do you got?
I got Latavius Murray.
Oh.
Only because he's on concussion protocol.
Yeah, never a good thing for a running back.
I don't think so, no. I mean, he's Funston's got him ranked at 11th, which I see is probably too high anyway.
Yeah, that's probably a running back 1 for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, I think so. So we don't even know as of Wednesday morning when we're recording this if he's going to play or practice. They're against the Vikes, and they're 8th best against running backs to start with.
Yeah, they're a solid defense, right? So, I mean, even without the injury, you're a little bit leery of starting him, right?
Yeah, I would be, I think, a little bit.
At least as an RB1. I mean, okay. Without the injury, he starts.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think so. I mean, I just think that it's something you're going to have to monitor. If he is active, then I can't think you get away from starting him. If he's not active, I wouldn't necessarily think about starting any of the backup running backs.
Yeah, you're not going to run out and get Taiwan.
You've got Taiwan Jones, you've got Marcel Reese, you've got Roy Halou, and you've got this other one, Olazuela or something like that.
Yeah, crazy. He scored a touchdown last week.
He had one run, went for 19 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think there's no one in the Raiders' backfield that you pick up instead of Lat, but just one thing. It's just someone to keep an eye on.
Of course,
Sunday
you've got
morning.
to monitor the situation, and this is just annoying, yeah.
It is.
As an owner. And I mean, the whole concussion protocol is annoying. If anybody could explain it to me, I'd love it. But when you haven't passed even the first stage come Wednesday, it's risky.
Yeah, it's risky. But then you see someone like Teddy Bridgewater, who was not clean out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
By mistake, granted, but he was not clean out, and it seems as though he's probably going to be good to go.
I know. I'll never understand the whole deal.
No. Okay, now it's time to have a look at Fantasy Kryptonite and Fantasy Catnip.
So who we hate, who we love.
Who we hate and who we love, who we think is going to kill it for you or kill you.
Yeah, we're like Superman or a cat. Or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
So let's look back on Catnip for week 9. It's always good to look back to show how bad or good we are.
Yeah, I think you're happy about this one, right?
Your catnip last week catnip was Jeremy Langford, who I'm loving at the moment. Some douchebag, who I'm not going to mention, in our Flea Flicker League, came up with a really cheeky thing. I've been trying to get Carson Palmer off him.
Okay.
And I'd be willing to give up something. I've been willing to give up a Spiller and a draft pick.
Yeah, when you're starting a Kirk Cousins at quarterback, you'll give up something.
So, and I want Palmer, and I think he'd help me out for the next at least 1 or 2 seasons. This guy, he came up with an offer this morning. He wanted Jeremy Langford, Nelson Aguilar, and Jay Ajayi for Carson Palmer.
So 3 young studs,
or
at least potential studs for an old quarterback. This is a dynasty league. We should all point out to y'all.
So I tell him to go jump.
Off the bridge.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not getting rid of Langford at all. He can possibly have Aguilar and Ajayi, possibly.
Yeah. All right, Aguilar and Ajayi straight up.
Yeah, only because I'm stacked basically at running backs for the next.
And wide receiver.
I've got Langford, I've got West, I've got Lacey, I've got Spiller, I've got Vereen, and I've got Ingram.
Might be an idea.
So I'm happy to give up change for something.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, my pick wasn't quite as hot. I mean, as we see, Langford had 140 yards.
142 total yards, 70 in the air, 70 running, 1 touchdown.
He was 2-point conversion.
2-point conversion. He was fourth best running back.
Yeah, much better than my pick was the rookie running back out of San Diego, Melvin Gordon.
He's been up and down.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with Danny Woodhead. Poaching carries, poaching touchdowns, and Woodhead had the big week last week, and Gordon just didn't do it right.
Sure.
So yeah, I missed big.
You missed big on that.
Who was your kryptonite last week?
Kryptonite, I went with Andrew Luck.
All right, so you're going to quarterback.
I went quarterback, yeah, exactly. And I was a bit wary of starting him against Denver. I mean, I was surprised. He looked as though he was back to his best until he went out.
Yeah, the first half he looked great, actually.
He did. So he finished 9th, which isn't awful, I don't think. I mean, he wouldn't have killed you if you'd started him, and I think generally if you've got Luck, you're very rarely going to bench him.
But last week was definitely an optional bench.
Yeah, exactly. It was
mid-table, right?
Sure. He ended up with 252 and 2 touchdowns, but now we know that he's out for an extended period of time.
Yeah, what are they, 5 games?
I think the minimum of 4, I think, because it's what has he got? No, he's a bit like Keenan Allen. He's got lacerated kidneys.
It was some kind of internal organ thing. Yeah,
he's got lacerated kidneys, and it looks like a couple of cracked ribs.
Not good.
It was a big hit.
Yeah.
But
it looked painful.
But I think he didn't come. Did he come out of the game?
To tell you the truth, I didn't watch it.
No, we were watching something else. Anyway,
I picked James Jones as my kryptonite last week, which I'd say is a hit, right?
I think that was definitely a hit.
57 yards, 5 points? Yeah,
57 yards on 2 receptions. Yeah.
Yeah, so he finished out of the top 40 for sure.
Yeah, he was 44th best wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, James Jones looked great early in the season. So touchdown dependent though.
He is.
I just don't like him much. But anyways, looking forward is always more important.
Looking forward is a lot more fun.
As we look forward to week 10, catnip pick.
Catnip pick for you?
I'm going to go a little risky here. Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Okay.
Risky, of course, because A, he plays for the Bucks. Risky B, because he hasn't played in a few weeks.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I mean, I heard last week he was practicing in full. I think he was expected to play last week, and then
so he was a healthy scratch.
Yeah, he just didn't. I suppose he probably wasn't 100%. They played it safe with the young tight end, but this week I think he's going to go.
Okay,
definitely you got to monitor it. Don't start the guy if he's benched or he's scratched.
No,
but I think he's probable to start this week.
He's going up against Cowboys.
Yeah, which is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Cowboys' defense is just wearing down as the season goes by.
It is. I mean, they did really well last season. The defense overperformed,
yeah, and they started out okay. The first few games this season, they started out right.
Breaking down.
Yeah, but yeah,
last year I wouldn't say they were lucky last year, but they had a healthy defense.
Oh yeah, well, and they also had a good offense, right?
Sure, which keeps your defense off the field.
Exactly. So I mean, this year you could just feel their energy being sapped.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows how it's going to be once Romo comes back? But until then. You just got to stay away from, you got to play anybody playing the Cowboys.
Pretty much, I think, yeah.
So take Jenkins if he's there,
yeah?
Yeah. Who do you got?
Actually, kind of part of the same argument as you. I'm staying in Tampa Bay, and I'm going with Charles Sims.
All right.
Again, so he's ranked 26th, which seems, okay, I mean, it's probably maybe where he might end up, but I think he's got a chance, he's got a high upside, I would say, this week.
Definitely.
They're second worst against running backs, Cowboys are, and that's only after the Chargers, who are on a bye. So they're actually the worst team against running backs
Technically, this week they are the worst team against
Exactly.
RBs. Is that right?
He ended up last week with 52 yards running, but I'd like to see him. Ideally, he's going to take some receptions away from Doug Martin.
Yeah, I mean, he is the receiving back. I mean, last week he only caught one pass, I was noticing. But
Yeah.
I think against the Cowboys, I mean, they gave up a lot of receptions to running backs. And I think, as we were just talking about, the Cowboys' D is wearing down. I would start maybe Doug Martin and Charles Sims this week. Yeah.
You could do in deeper leagues, I think so. I mean, you could start Martin you could probably think about starting Martin as your running back 1 or 2, and then you could think about Sims as a low-end flex.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'd throw him, especially in a PPR,
Yeah.
I'd go with Sims as well.
Alrighty.
It's a good call, my friend.
So, Kryptonite.
Kryptonite, I was looking at quarterbacks, and the one that jumped out at me was Jay Cutler. I was talking about Martellus Bennett before. But yeah, I've never been a Smokin' Jay fan, I must say. I know he did. I think he set the Bears record for touchdowns.
He did, yeah.
But that's the Bears record.
It says more about the Bears, yeah.
Exactly. They've never had a great QB, right? Anyway, yeah, Cutler's ranked around 13th this week, but they're going against St. Louis, right?
Right. Second lowest points to quarterbacks in the league. Rams give up.
Exactly. So, I mean, you stay away from Cutler if you've got anything better, right?
I think so.
Stay away.
Hence why you think
Stay away from Smokin' Jay.
Stay away from Smokin' Jay. Hence that's why you thought that Bennett was low as well.
Exactly.
Jeffrey will do something, but even said you in the blog write-up, you were saying you'd even kind of be wary about, or at least you might think about trying to get away from Jeffrey this week, or?
I mean, Jeffrey's got to get his targets, right?
Sure.
You're not going to bench Jeffrey, but yeah, Cutler, I'm throwing on the bench. Definitely.
Right.
Who do you got?
I got Antonio Andrews down in Tennessee.
That's a bit of a surprise pick.
Yeah,
all right, yeah,
he has. I mean, he's by no means a fun player to watch.
No,
he's slow, he's big. He's done well in the last few weeks, and what we've seen is an increase in touches over the last 4 weeks. He got 20 touches last week. Malarkey seems to like him as the bell cow back, but
there's a few buts.
There's a few buts. So on the upside, you've got to think about that. He's been doing well, and his increase in fantasy production's increased as well. However, David Cobb could be activated for this one.
Fat David Cobb?
But I don't know if it's Fat David Cobb.
Was that the problem? Like he reported overweight. That's why they haven't started him.
I thought he was ribs.
Oh, maybe.
Oh no, that was JJ.
Oh yeah, I mean there was an injury
as well, but maybe he was overweight as well.
This is why they've actually been slow to activate him.
Oh really? He wasn't fit.
He just wasn't healthy. He was Eddie Lacy style. Yeah.
Too many Wendy's burgers.
More or less. Yeah, but yeah, I do think Cobb is probably going to go this week.
Yeah, I think so. So that's probably going to take some touches away from Andrews. They're going against a good Carolina D. Okay, they're average against running backs, but overall. And the other thing is you probably expect Tennessee to have to throw from behind in this game.
Exactly. Like you said, against Carolina, I mean, let's face it, we got to get on the Carolina bandwagon eventually.
I think so.
And they're undefeated. They beat the Packers last week.
And I think that means they've got the number 1 seed.
Yeah. I think Tennessee falls behind. They have to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And that means Andrews is a kryptonite of the week. Yeah?
Exactly. And that will mean that the playoffs will be going through Charlotte.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, at this point.
Okay, and now we want to actually change it up a little bit, just very briefly. We want to respond to a listener or someone at least reads the blog. It's Brett who wrote to us on our Facebook page, which is FF Rankings Attack. Over on Facebook. And
Facebook, I've heard of that.
Yeah, I know.
You should all go to FF Rankings Attack.
Rankings Attack.
Rankings Attack. Right.
Yeah.
FF Rankings Attack. On something called Facebook.com.
Yeah, check it out. So Brett hooked us up, got in touch with us, and he had a bit of a quandary.
Yeah, Brett's been a regular on the page asking questions. Brett's in a standard NFL.com league. Which means 2 running backs,
2 wide receivers, and a flex.
Yeah, and
standard scoring,
right? And so, what he really wanted to know is what to do at running back. Yeah?
Sure. Because it seems like on this one, his wide receivers were set. His wide receivers, he's got his Demarius, T.Y. Hilton, and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Hilton's out on a bye.
So that means he's starting Thomas and Diggs at wide receiver.
Fine, which means you've got to start running 3 running backs.
Yeah, so 2 running backs, and then the flex has got to be another running back.
So what are the options?
He has Doug Martin.
Okay.
Lamar Miller.
Okay.
Eddie Lacy. Ronnie Hillman. Charkendrick West. And DeMarco Murray. Yeah. So you got 6 guys, 3 slots. Martin, Miller, Lacy, Hillman, West, and Murray.
Okay.
So let's go with what we don't like first, maybe, yeah?
Well, what do we not like? I wouldn't touch Hillman with a barge pole because it's a Denver running back.
We discussed this at length.
So
stay away from Hillman. I mean, there's C.J. Anderson. They're playing Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't think you want to. You don't want to test it.
So we drop out Hillman.
I think so. Lacey as well. They're going against. I mean, okay, on the upside, Lacey's going against the Lions,
yeah.
But he hasn't looked good.
No, he's slow. He's overweight.
He was banged up on Sunday.
Right? I've been reading a bit about how he is a cold weather running back.
Is he?
As the season progresses for the last couple of years, he's come out and then stronger. But I've also read how it's predicted to be a warmer than normal winter in Wisconsin.
Shit, so Green Bay has to up and move sticks to Anchorage.
Somewhere colder, yeah. I mean, when you get deep into this fantasy talk, there's so many, there's a pro and there's a con and for everything.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I think the big thing is you got Starks there.
Okay.
Who's been looking a lot better than Lacey.
He has. I mean, he was the big back this week.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Lacey's out. Hillman's out.
So, it's between West, Murray, Miller, and Martin. We need three guys.
I'd start, I think, as we've spoken about, I think Doug Martin's a good start this week.
Yeah.
Miller, you're not going to be getting away from.
Lamar's got to go, too. You're going against Philadelphia, the third worst against run.
Exactly. So, you're going down between Charkandrick West and DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, this is your coin flip, I think, right? I think for me, the determining factor is Charkandrick West is playing the Broncos, yeah?
Yeah.
The Chiefs have the Broncos. They're going to fall behind, probably. Smothering defense, which leaves us with DeMarco Murray, right? My suggestion, Brett, would be Doug Martin, Lamar Miller, and DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go Murray as well.
Yeah, I mean, Murray's got the Dolphins this week, who are actually the third worst against running backs. I mean, I guess they've looked a little better since the new coach. But DeMarco's looked pretty good the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think just looking at Brandon Funston's rankings, he's got Miller at 6, Murray at 7.
Where's Martin? I mean, Martin would probably be a top 25 back, right?
Let's have a look.
So you have Martin, Murray, Miller.
And then West, I think West will probably struggle this week a little bit against Denver. I mean, he's got him ranked 22nd, actually above Doug Martin. Really? Oh, no, sorry. No, Doug Martin, he's got it 10th.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. I mean,
it's
I think
MMM, right? Yeah. Martin, Miller, Murray.
I think, that's fine. No, and we don't need any W's.
No.
Great. And now it's time for...
Dun, dun, dun.
Game
of
Intrigue.
I love the ad-lib that we do there.
That's great.
So my game of intrigue this week will be the Browns versus the Steelers.
Okay, like it.
Yeah, it's a classic AFC North matchup.
Two shitty teams. Well, maybe not shitty teams. But
I mean, I'm not a huge Steelers fan, never have been.
No.
And the Browns are the Browns, right?
The Browns.
But there's question marks all around the board, especially when it comes to the Browns, yeah? I mean, who's going to be the quarterback?
Sure.
I mean, if I'm the coach, I'm going with Johnny Manziel, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, look, the season's a write-off.
Sure.
They got 2 wins. They're not going to go to the playoffs.
Probably not.
I think they have to discover what they have in Johnny Manziel.
Give him till the end of the season.
Yeah,
even if it means...
Throw him in there, throw him to the Lions.
Even if it means tanking.
I do agree that it's easy to argue that Josh McCown is the better QB. I think I was reading he's like the 11th quarterback.
He's not bad. Fantasy-wise, he's done really well.
Played. I mean, he's a high-end QB too, all right? So, I mean, if you want to win games or have a better chance at winning games, I think Josh is a better quarterback. But I think the whole Johnny situation has to be cleared up by the end of this year.
Yeah.
So I'd throw him in there, but it's hard to know, and so it's interesting to see.
Okay, fine.
Another one is, Travis Benjamin was a hot player the first half of the season, and he's been dropping off week by week, lower and lower. And I was interested to see that Dwayne Bowe had 3 catches last week.
He's reappeared.
Somewhere over Dwayne Bowe.
Yeah. Somewhere over the Dwayne Bowe, yeah, exactly.
Classic fantasy team names, flashbacks. I'm curious to see if Dwayne Bowe keeps playing. I mean, I'm not going to pick him up, but he had 5 targets, 3 catches. I mean, Dwayne Bowe.
You're not touching him there, right?
Yeah, and they got a couple banged up wide receivers. Brian Hartline. You got that Gabriel kid. You got Andrew Hawkins. Are they going to come back? I know that you're not interested in these guys unless you're in a 20-team league.
Sure.
But I am in one of those, so I'm kind of curious, right?
And at running back, you're Duke Johnson. who had a nice game last week.
Yeah, I like Duke better than Crowell.
Okay.
Especially in a PPR again, right? You throw Duke in there, and of course, there's always Gary Barnage.
Gary Barnage.
The guy is just unstoppable. And yeah, against the Steelers, he's going to be interesting to watch. I think he's the tight end one this week. Yeah.
Sure.
And then, yeah, for the Steelers, of course, Big Ben's out again.
Looks like it. I mean, he's not been formally ruled out, but I think we can guess he will be. I mean, unless you're allowed to be in a wheelchair under center.
I mean, he is. I mean, I do know he's Ben Roethlisberger and he's a tank, but I think they got to bench him for Landry.
Totally.
And I wouldn't touch Landry, but it'd be curious to see. I mean, he had that one great week when he came in to replace Ben a few weeks back, and then he was nothing.
It was a good second half of the game, wasn't
Vic,
it?
Right?
But yeah, because Vic pulled his hammy.
Exactly. And then he played bad when he started, and so I'm curious to see how he does, right?
Okay.
You can't bench a guy like Antonio Brown, but Martavis Bryant,
he drops a bit.
Yeah, I would probably get him in there in a 12-team league, but maybe not. Heath Miller, I think you're going to fall to a tight end too. Mm-hmm. And D'Angelo Williams, I'm curious to see how he does. I mean, he had a huge week last week. Mm-hmm. But I read somewhere he had a swollen foot on Monday, didn't practice. I mean, okay, you're going to start him.
Of course.
But
most people have him top 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Against the Browns.
I don't know if he's an RB1, but he probably is. So I'm curious to see how he does. Yeah.
All right, fine. So there's lots of questions. So the reason you picked that one was that there's just lots of lineup questions.
Exactly. Going forward, it will be interesting.
Okay.
Who do you got, my friend?
I got Vikings at Raiders. Again, I mean, this is maybe more about questions about who's going to start and stuff like that. I mean, these are really two surprise teams here. I mean, all right. People expected the Vikings to be good. There was a lot of talk that they could be a playoff team, but it's week 10 and they're in a share of first place with the Packers in the NFC North.
Exactly. They're both 6-2.
That
is a surprise.
Right? That's the big surprise. There are questions. As we mentioned earlier, Bridgewater's in concussion protocol.
Yeah, he was knocked out.
He was totally flat knocked out. Zimmer hopes he'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think, the word seems like he passed the first stage of this protocol, whatever that means.
I think so.
And when you do that early in the week, usually they go, right?
Yeah, I mean, either way, although he's not bad, I think, in real football. He's confident under center. He throws very few interceptions. Doesn't throw many touchdowns.
That's the problem. He doesn't get a lot of points. He is my starting QB.
He is. Yeah.
In my 20-team league.
He looks confident. That I think 20-team leagues, 16-team leagues, he's a good start. 10 or 12-team leagues, you're probably hoping you got someone better.
No, yeah, he's probably on your bench.
I think, although there are there's 3 big wide receivers that are out this week. Rivers isn't playing. Sorry, quarterbacks. You've got Rivers isn't playing. Ryan isn't playing, and Luck isn't playing. Yeah. And obviously Blaine Gabbert isn't playing, but you were never going to start him. So it might be that you've got him on your bench as your bye week. So he might be a start this week. He could be playing worse teams. Mm-hmm. Diggs should be a safe start at wide receiver 2, I reckon.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs. I mean, he didn't have that great a week last week, but he had 3 crazy weeks. Right?
He did. I mean, he had the worst game of his career against the Rams in week 9.
The Rams, though, right?
Sure, only 42 yards, but. Yeah, he's been averaging, nearly 100 yards a game over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
He's been amazing. I mean,
he's been pretty good.
He could be this year's Odell, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Rudolph is not... I mean, he might get you a tasty red zone touchdown, but apart from that, I don't think he's a startable tight end against the Raiders.
Yeah, we were talking last week how anybody playing the Raiders could be startable, right? But this week...
this is what we might call the Rudolph theorem or something like that.
No, I agree.
Not even you wouldn't even start Carl Rudolph against the Raiders, and that shows how actually low down he is.
He just hasn't been used much, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And how about the Raiders? What's interesting around them?
There's I think for me, obviously, Derek Carr is now becoming essentially a start most week quarterback.
He's a QB1.
He's a QB1 in fantasy.
Well, it's those crazy wide receivers he's got.
Sure, it doesn't hurt that he's thrown to Cooper, but also it's the emergence of Crabtree this season that's really done it.
God, he's made a couple of great grabs. I think it was the first touchdown last week. He went up and just snatched the ball away.
Yeah, I mean
he's also looking really good.
Yeah, and he's now got 2 pretty good wide receivers to throw to. Yeah. If you think actually up until last season, Crabtree was essentially the 49ers wide receiver 1. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had Bolden as well, but it was Crabtree that got most of the looks. Mm-hmm. And now seems to be thriving as a wide receiver 2.
On the other side of Amari Cooper, yeah. I mean, Amari's getting
Cooper's
going
to be taking away the attention, exactly like you said. So Carr had 240 yards and 4 touchdowns on an average of, Crabtree, he's had 270 yards and 4 touchdowns on an average of only 7 catches per game.
Not bad.
So I quite like him this week as a nice low-end flex.
Yeah, it's a high-end flex.
Yeah, you reckon? I mean, it's going against...
they're
they're going against the bikes, but they're going against the bikes, so who've got a really good defense.
Yeah, and of course Murray is a question mark, right?
Exactly, as we spoke about. So it's Olawale saw the ball once, rushed for those 19 yards and touchdown, but it's more likely to be Halou or Reese if Murray sits.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who gets the carries, right?
Sure. I mean, you're not starting any of them, but still. And now it's time for the final segment of the podcast. It's time for the Fantasy Trust Tree.
Let's climb it again.
Let's climb it again. And this time we have an email from...
I've heard of
an email from a Tom in Boston.
Tom in Boston. Let's hear it.
Dear Rankings Attack, I was watching the GOP presidential debates last night, and I'm confused for the future in a very real way. There's actually a lot of candidates I like.
There's a lot out there.
There's a lot out there. After 8 years of an alleged Kenyan Muslim socialist dictatorship that's ruined this once great country, whoever wins this battle will likely be the candidate and possible president.
Ooh.
If I had to vote this week, I'm not sure who I'd choose. Who would you put your super PAC funds behind as being the best patriot on the ground?
I see where you're going there.
That was from Tom in Boston.
So, we've got a choice between LeGarrette Blount.
Yep.
We've got Brandon Bolden and James White.
Who was a healthy scratch last week.
Yeah, that's why Bolden got all this got that nice touchdown pass.
Yeah, he did.
Well, I mean, Tom, whoever your last name could be in Boston, is a big Republican supporter. I am sorry about your Muslim socialist dystopia that you had to live through these last 8 years. I'm sure things will get a lot better with a Republican in there somehow. So I don't think there's any real question about who the big guy is going to be here, right?
He's your presidential candidate.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be LeGarrette Blount.
Sure,
right?
Blount, yeah.
Blount's the guy going forward. He's an RB1, I think, for the rest of the year with Dion Lewis.
He could be massive.
Yeah, Dion Lewis being out, I think Blount is a week-to-week starter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you're looking for
a running mate.
Mm-hmm. So we got Bolden, we got White.
You've got Bolden, you've got White.
We don't have a lot to go on here.
No, not really. I mean, White hasn't done much. Bolden's been injured and has only really come back for that one game so far.
And of course, we've got Bellatrix pulling the strings.
And you never know.
So, should we just flip a coin? I mean, maybe that's how they should determine who's the
Maybe that's actually how they do it.
Yeah.
All right, so Blount's your number one guy. If you had to pick up one of those two and maybe start them some weeks or even this week, who do you like more?
I guess you got to go with Brandon Bolden. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he does have a track record. He had a touchdown last week. It was a beautiful throw. I mean, it was a Brady touchdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't seen enough out of James White. It doesn't seem like Bellatrix trusts him. Yeah.
Not yet. No, I don't think so. Which is, and so, I mean, he's going to be a backup to the backup.
I think let's say if we're talking about the higher floor, it's Bolden here, right?
Right. I think so.
But I think White does have a high ceiling, right? I mean, maybe not high.
But he could come in and this would be totally predictable of the Pats to come in and he'd run for 3 touchdowns.
Exactly. He'd like become a Dion Lewis guy, right?
Exactly.
Just like your choice of candidates, this is a confusing one, yeah? Mm-hmm. And just like I'm pretty sure most people do in the States, I think you just flip a coin.
Flip a coin. Go with the one that doesn't have a skunk on the head.
I'd go with Bolden. But yeah.
I think Bolden this week, maybe White going forwards for the rest of the season.
If you're in a deeper league, pick White up, yeah? 16-plus league, put him on your bench if you got room. But yeah, I think starting would be Bolden this week in a deeper league, yeah? Agreed?
Agreed.
All right, buddy.
And that's wrapped it up for another edition of the Ranking Attack podcast. I've been Sam.
And I'm still Shane.
See you later.